In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 techniques that can help you to manage and overcome anxiety. But before we get into that, let's debunk some anxiety myths. Now, it's very common for those of us who are feeling anxious to feel quite shameful and even embarrassed because of the impact that anxiety is having on us. We might even feel like people say, oh, it's all in your head, don't worry about it. And anxiety is not in your head, it's actually in your body. Anxiety is simply an alarm system that the body holds that triggers the nervous system to call into action. But while anxiety is very much rooted in our physiology and affects the way we physically feel, it can be triggered by things that are in our head as well as in our environment. We may have negative thoughts, you might have some thoughts that you worry too much and it's in your head, which can trigger the physiological response of anxiety to kickstart the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight response, and even the freeze response. Sometimes we get so anxious, we just don't know what to do and we freeze. So anxiety is very much a physical reaction, but it can be triggered by things that we think about. Sometimes anxiety just comes out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. There might be something in our environment that triggered it that we weren't aware of, but we just find ourselves all of a sudden feeling anxious. And that feeling, that physical feeling of anxiety, that stress response can then trigger our mind and thoughts to go racing, to find out what's going on. And we can go into a state of panic very quickly. So it can be very overwhelming, and just understand it's normal and it's okay. Anxiety is an important response that we have to threats. But the issue is if it impacts you on a day-to-day basis, when logically there's no need to respond in that anxious way. Let's get into the 4 tools of how you can overcome your anxiety. The first one is breathing. And yes, we all breathe, but this is different. This is breathing with purpose, specifically to help you manage your stress response. So we're going to do what's called the 4-7-8 technique, which is you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7, and then you exhale for 8. So why don't you try with me now? I feel better already. The next one is what I call the 3-2-1 technique. It's a grounding technique. So if you find yourself quite overwhelmed by anxiety, then do the 3-2-1, which is name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can smell. So the idea behind that is you're resorting to using your senses, being aware of your environment, and grounding yourself to the here and now. This exercise especially helps if you find that you are overwhelmed by your thoughts and it's just adding to the fuel of anxiety that you're experiencing. The third tool is cognitive reframing. Now, this is especially true if you find that you're someone whose thoughts really snowball and you find your thoughts really sometimes get out of hand. You start imagining scenarios that haven't happened. You imagine the worst case scenario and it just doesn't do anything to help calm you and make you feel kind of relaxed and help manage your stress. So cognitive reframing is to catch those thoughts as they come and challenge them. So one effective way of doing that is to find evidence for whether that thought has any merit. So you might be out, you might be shopping, and you might feel a bit anxious by all the people, and you start having thoughts that something really bad is going to happen. In that time, you might want to try the grounding technique just to calm yourself and recognize, okay, I've had the thought something bad's going to happen, but no one around me is panicking. Everyone seems calm. I see no signs of threat. Is this thought really true? Is it worth me having this anxious feeling right now? And sometimes that might help, being able to reframe your thinking. But if you find yourself in the midst of that panic, do something to help you manage your physical response, because anxiety is not all in the head. As I've said, it is in the body. And the 4th one that I always recommend, whether you're feeling anxious or not, is to physical self-care. Do regular physical activity, make sure you having enough sleep, have a healthy, balanced diet. All of these factors we don't always associate with being anxious, but actually, if we get our sleep right, if we get our diet right, and if we make sure we're having good physical exercise in the day, these factors help to manage our anxiety and allow us to release that tension in our body and make us feel good overall and have a good, healthy system. So all of these factors help to reduce our anxiety even further. So remember that when you're feeling anxious and you're feeling it in your body, you're feeling your heart racing, you're going shallow breathing, you really feel that you can't sit down or stay still, this is simply your body's sympathetic nervous system calling into action, making you want to either run away from what's happening or address what's happening. There is this response in your body to deal with a threat. Now, the question is there actually a threat there? You might feel there is, but when you look around, you might be surrounded with people and everyone seems calm, or you might be alone and it's quite quiet in the house or wherever you are, yet you still feel anxious. So remember, this is your body's sympathetic nervous system. And there's two things to think about. Firstly, what is triggering this response within me? That will take time and exploration, but in the midst of that anxiety you're feeling, try one of those exercises that I've suggested in this video to help calm you down in real time. And one of the most effective ones of those four would be the breathing. Remember that managing anxiety is a journey, that these 4 steps will help, but it may not help in all situations, and you need to do it over the longer term. And if you feel really overwhelmed by anxiety, then it helps to seek professional support, because there might be something else at the root cause that is not being addressed and is being neglected. And you deserve to understand fully what is triggering anxiety within you and what you can do about it. So I offer a free 20-minute consultation where you can talk to me about things you might want to address in therapy. Outside of that, I would strongly suggest you seek professional support and counseling if this is something that is deeply impacting you. I hope those 4 techniques helped. Thank you for watching. Please comment below this video if you found these techniques useful, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.